Dear students, in the previous lecture, in the first lecture, we have discussed some part of the models called as should and ought to. In the second lecture, and the same lecture and its other parts of shoulds shall be elaborated in today's lecture. Dear students, you might be knowing that there are certain actions which are very, very sensible. SENSIBLE, sensible. By sensible, we mean very, very good actions. And sometimes what happens, we forget doing sensible actions. There are many, many sensible actions and they are very important for the welfare of a man. But sometimes we ignore them. This ignoring of the sensible actions lead to adverse or bad effects upon our personality. In that context, you will have to see this point here now. This is have plus third form. Have plus third form. Have plus third form. Have plus third form. For example, have gone, have consulted, have sung. Have, it is a helping verb, and sung is sing, sang, sung. It is the third form. Consulted, consult, consulted, consulted. It is gone. It is go, went, gone. It is third form. But they are preceded by, यानी इनके आगे जो verb है, that is have, and have. So for sensible actions and mixing up with the sensible actions which have been forgotten by a man has caused problems to a man. I shall explain like this now. Look here now. Mr. A is coughing. Coughing is a problem which Mr. A has developed. It is because of the fact that he should have consulted a doctor. Now, consulting a doctor is a sensible action. It is a very good action. Had he consulted a doctor, then Mr. A, he, would not have coughed at all. So, for neglecting sensible and good actions, we have to use modal should, or we have to use modal ought to. For example, Mr. John failed in the speech in the seminar. Mr. John को seminar में जाना है, उसको speech deliver करना है. But he failed there. He could not convince the spectators, he could not convince the audience there. जो उसके सुनने वाले थे, उसने उनको convince नहीं कर पाया. He could not convince them at all. The fact was, he has ignored and neglected a very, very sensible action. That was, he should have prepared a speech in anticipation. उसको पहले ही एडवांस में, एंटिसिपेशन मीन्स एडवांस में अपनी स्पीच को ट्रिम करना था, उसको रिफाइन करना था, उसको एक गुड एक्टिंग करनी थी. और गुड एक्टिंग न करने की वजह से ये आदमी, मिस्टर ही, द स्पीकर, द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द सेंटेंस, हैज नॉट डिलीवर्ड a good lecture in the seminar. So the conclusion, the deduction or the conclusion out of this structure is that for ignoring, for neglecting sensible actions, a person develops very adverse effects. And this adverse effect is here cough. For example, one more sentence I will tell you. Mr. Charlie suffered a failure in the international tournament. He should not have, or he ought not to have, taken drugs. This is the negative action or wrong action he has done. So two things are there. Wrong actions executed a man, or good actions neglected by a man. I will repeat by examples one more. The person has got crushed by a vehicle. A person was walking on the road, रास्ते पर चल रहा था. He was crushed by a vehicle. We can say he should not have crossed the road. He should not have crossed the road. The wrong action he has done is by crossing the road. He should have kept himself to the left side of the road, but he has crossed the road. By crossing the road, which is basically a wrong action, he has got crushed by a vehicle. Clear? So, doing a wrong action or avoiding or neglecting a good action, in that context, we have to use modal ought to and should. But one thing must be very much noted here. In that very structure, जहाँ आप should लगाएंगे और ought to लगाएंगे, you should have structure like this: have plus third form, not has, only have. Have plus third form, have gone, have jumped, have taken drugs, have slept. So, for obligations, for responsibilities, for wrong actions done, for good actions or sensible actions neglected, we have made a proper and accurate and befitting use of modal should and ought to. Now, the important rule that oftenly, recurringly, constantly and frequently comes in the examination in competitive examinations is lest and should. Lest and should, they are bonding. We have to say, in case of lest, we have to use should. Important. No other model. Only and only we have to use should. But I would elaborate in a very lucid way, in a very concrete way, the function of lest. First, its meaning, its symbolic essence. This I have to explain first. Then you can automatically come to know in what capacity, in what way this modal should could be used. See here now. Lest in English language is basically a conjunction. It connects two clauses. It combines two sentences. So, lest is, in grammar, it is basically a conjunction. It's a bonding. It's a connective between two clauses or two sentences. 1 point. Second important point is that in every situation, a man has to take precautions. Precautions are very important, and precautions are taken in advance. किसी भी चीज़ में हमें मोहतात रहना है. We have to take care of something. अगर वो हम केयर नहीं करेंगे, if we not take care of certain things, if we are not precautious, if we are not cautious, then जो रिजल्ट होगा, जो इसके consequences होंगे, वो automatically adverse होंगे. That would be automatically bad. So lest, as per lest is concerned, before lest, the part of the sentence would be in the examination hall as well, and you have to apply your mental capability, mental scenario in comprehending what the question is about. For example, look here now. Lest is a conjunction introducing a clause which is adverse. You and dash fail. This is a clause basically. I have to insert a certain thing there. I will insert the model here. But the question is, lest is followed, or we can say lest is introducing a clause which is adverse, which is bad, which should be avoided. अगर हम अवॉइड नहीं करेंगे, अगर हम प्रिकॉशन नहीं लेंगे, देखिए वॉक स्लोली इट्स ए प्रिकॉशन. इफ वी डोंट टेक प्रिकॉशन, देन दिस एक्शन which is introduced, or we can say this clause or the sentence introduced by the conjunction lest is automatically adverse. And in that context, you will have to use modal should. This is very, very, very important rule of should. Should is used with less because less introduces a clause which is adverse, which has adverse implications, which has adverse results. If we will not take these precautions, walk slowly. Walk slowly is a precaution, and this part of sentence is after lest, it is basically an adverse situation if we will not take this precaution at all. Sometimes क्या होता है, हम लिखते हैं lest you should not fail. Normally जो बच्चे incorrection करते हैं, incorrect statement देते हैं, incorrect structure जो लिखते हैं, they write an incorrect structure, they use in this part of word they use a not. I want to make it clear, this lest is itself used in a negativity way. Negatively it is used. It has a negative sense. Therefore, there is no need of using not here. You can't say, for example, I will tell you a sentence like this. Stop taking drugs. Stop taking drugs. Lest you should not become unconscious. Lest you should not lose your studies. Lest you should not lose your wealth. Lest you should not lose your social status. So not is to be avoided all times, because the word lest has itself a negative meaning. It is negatively used. Very, very important structure in English grammar. With lest we use modal should. With lest we use modal should. And after lest never use not, because lest is itself having a negative sense. Is it negatively used? And you will have to use modal should. So these were the 4 important rules I have discussed. We use modal ought to and should for responsibility, for obligations which we have to fulfill in the world, and for that neither you are awarded nor you are punished for that if you ignore them. But in second case, I have told you that for doing wrong actions, for executing wrong actions, you have to use modal should and ought to. And for avoiding, for neglecting a sensible, a good action which has created failure in your life, which has given a negative implications upon your life, in that case as well, you will have to use modal should and ought to. लेकिन एक स्ट्रक्चर आपको याद, एक आइडिया आपको याद रखना पड़ेगा कि हैव प्लस थर्ड फॉर्म. इट मीन्स बच्चे को थर्ड फॉर्म का जो वर्ब होगा, 3 forms of वर्ब के जो 3 forms है, the child must have cultivated these things from the very start of his learning. And normally what is the deficiency among the students is that they are deficient of 3 forms of verb. They don't cultivate them at all. Every day, whether at home, whether in the school, the student must recall these all verbs. They are as well as regular verbs. Unless and until he remembers all these verbs, then he can realize the structures I have used with regard to utilization of or usage of modal should and ought. Now we shall discuss very beautiful, which commonly we use in the day-to-day conversation, in day-to-day discourse, where friends meet, where in the family as well, we normally discuss this kind of model. And it is in every situation I feel it is a need, it is urgency to use this model comes into limelight. And that model is used. This is very, very important model. Okay, dear friends, dear students, please tell me, is something in your life very attached to you all times? There are certain things in one's life which are attached to one's life all times. For example, you have passion for music. You have passion for Bollywood. You have passion for delicious food. You have passion, you have desire all times for sweet things, and you can't live without them at all. They are part and parcel of your life. Now this important point is such factors of your life which are clubbed, which are bonded with your life, and without which you feel yourself uneasy and uncomfortable. For example, आप हर दिन राइस खाते हो, आप हर दिन मीट खाते हो, आप हर दिन म्यूजिक सुनते हो, you listen all time is music. You have a desire to listen to music. In that context, when something is attached to your life and you can't ignore it at all, it has become part and parcel of your life. It has got blended in your life. You will have to see first this verb. I am is A-R-E-R. Dear friends, these three verbs are very important. They are connected with this modal auxiliary used. Is, are. They are basically be verbs. They are basically be verbs. Then we have was, were. Was, were. Am, is, are, was, were. This group of verbs is called be verb, and their third form is being. This is first form, this is second form, and this is the third form. Very interesting rule. In using this model, these verbs must precede them. यानी ये verbs इस model के आगे होनी चाहिए. For example, Johnson is. Let us suppose म्यूजिक की उसको एक टेंडेंसी है, he has a weakness for music. He can't live without music at all. Johnson is used music. You see here, used to, and before that there is be verb. You might have seen a beggar, a small child begging, and when he comes to his home, there's a rugged life, there's a very harsh life. Every day he lives in the same condition. We can say, the boy, the beggar boy, is used to music. Sorry, used to harsh life. Used to harsh life. The beggar boy is used to harsh life. We Kashmiris, for example, we are used to constant strikes and hartals. Constant strikes and bans. Aren't we used to? हम इसके आदी हो चुके हैं. We have become habitual to. और अंग्रेजी में इसका वर्ड है एक्सटम. एक्सटम मीन्स आदी होना, हैबिचुअल होना. एक्सटम. ACCUSTOM. We are accustomed to bad life. I'm accustomed to harsh life. I'm accustomed to travel in common buses. मैं आदी हो चुका हूँ इसका क्लियर. लेकिन one thing is very important here. Before this model, we have to use be verb. Now today I am accustomed. 10 years back, let's go retrospection. We'll go back into my life, or you can go back to your life. 10 years back, for example, 10 years back, you were accustomed to music. उस वक्त जो आपकी एक टेंडेंसी थी वो म्यूजिक के लिए थी. You were accustomed to, or you can use, I was used to music 10 years back when I was in London, when I was in New York. I was used to go Hollywood. I was used to go Hollywood. 10 years back. So, जो verb मैंने लगाया, it was, be verb. For example, I was used to go Hollywood. For example, again, I will go say, 10 साल पहले आप लड़ाई करते थे, या 10 साल पहले आप हर दिन प्ले फील्ड में जाते थे. 10 years back, I used to go to playground always. 10 years back, I used to go playground always. आप आदी हो चुके, you had become accustomed to go to the playground. So for accustomed to, for habitual to something, or for getting accustomed to something, you can use modal used to. Look here now. I have used a very concrete example that pertains to our social scenario of Kashmir this time. I say here 50 years back, Kashmir, our province Kashmir, used to be peaceful. But now, there is turmoil. Now the present state is turmoil, and 50 years back it was peaceful. So past situation which is now discontinued. अब इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट इम्तिहान में क्या होगा, कैसे आप ये अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे कि इसमें ये मॉडल कैसे मैं लगाऊंगा. इसमें एक वर्ड होगा बट. Whenever we use the word but in a particular structure, it is adverse. It is adverse to previous situation. See here, 50 years back Kashmir used to be peaceful. Of course, one situation. Now, but it is reverse now. Now there is turmoil. So a past situation which was existing that time, but now it doesn't exist at all. And this is clarified by the connective. But is basically a connective, or we can say a conjunction. But it gives a reverse of the previous situation. Previous में जो condition थी या situation थी, इसके reverse में ही बोलता है. Adverse is adverse of that. So but के बाद जो भी sentence है, structure है, it is negative of the previous situations. So a past activity which has been now discontinued. I hope the model should, ought, used, lest, wherever we have used that model should and ought to, it might have penetrated into your minds, and your doubts, your ambiguity, your non-clarity might have dispersed. And if you have any question, you can write in comments, and in future I may elaborate that thing wherever you have an intricacy of not understanding my point of view. Thanks.